अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय। अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय। अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय। హైదరాబాద్ కేంద్రం వారు నిర్వహిస్తున్నటువంటి ఈ ఆన్లైన్ సహవాస కార్యక్రమానికి అందరికీ స్వాగతం. ముందుగా నమో మెహర్ బాబా ప్రార్థనా గీతంతో ఈ కార్యక్రమం ప్రారంభమవుతుంది.
अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय। अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय। अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय। नमो मेहर बाबा अवतार नमो देव देवा। प्रभु नमो मेहर बाबा अवतार नमो देव देवा। अपार दिव्या कृपा सागरा सकल चराचर जगदोधार। नमो मेहर बाबा अवतार नमो देव देवा। जोहारुलिव श्री मेहर बाबा महिनी जनिंचिन मानव रूपा। इह परानंद जीवन मीवा भव भय भंजन परम पावन। नमो मेहर बाबा अवतार नमो देव देवा। अज्ञानांधतनंत मुझेसी दिव्य विज्ञान दृष्टि नो संगी। अरिषड्वर्गमुलंतरं पगा अव्यय मोक्षं बनुग्रहिं। नमो मेहर बाबा अवतार नमो देव देवा। नमो मेहर बाबा अवतार नमो देव देवा। जय मेहर बाबा जय जय मेहर बाबा जय। 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 अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय।
आज के कार्यक्रम का विवरण। We have Bhajans till 6:30 and at 6:30 we have talk by Gulnar and Freny, daughters of Viloo and Sarosh Irani. As you all know, Sarosh is member of beloved Baba's family and they both will be sharing beautiful reminiscences of meeting beloved Baba and Baba anecdotes of their parents. And at 7:25 we will have gist of their talk in English and Hindi. At 7:40 beloved Baba's film show and at 7:50 Naam, Dhun, silence, prayers and Arti. ఈ రోజు కార్యక్రమం యొక్క వివరాలు క్లుప్తంగా 6:30 వరకు కూడా ఈ భజన కార్యక్రమం ఉంటుంది. 6:30 నుండి ప్రీతం బాబా యొక్క మండలి సభ్యుడైనటువంటి సరోష్ ఇరానీ యొక్క ఇద్దరు అమ్మాయిలు గుల్నార్, ఫ్రీనీ, వాళ్ళిద్దరూ కూడా బాబాతో వారి యొక్క స్మృతుల గురించి అలాగే వాళ్ళ తల్లిదండ్రులతో బాబాకు జరిగినటువంటి కొన్ని ఉదంతాలని మనందరితో పంచుకుంటారు. వాళ్ళ యొక్క ప్రసంగం యొక్క అనువాదం ఇంగ్లీష్ మరియు హిందీ భాషల్లో ఉంటుంది. 7:25 నుండి 7:40 వరకు. అలాగే 7:40 విలవేట్ బాబా ఫిలిం షో, 7:50 నుండి నామ్, ధున్, సైలెన్స్, ప్రేయర్స్ మరియు ఆర్తి ఉంటాయి. నౌ నిక్కీ ఆచార్య ఫ్రమ్ ముంబై, షీ విల్ సింగ్ ఎ సాంగ్ ఇన్ ఇంగ్లీష్.
జై బాబా. Don't worry, be happy, it's so easy to say. There's more to that gold if you live it this way. You offer everything you can in every way you know, using all the skills you have and then you let it go. No matter how it goes, do your best, don't worry and be happy in my love. Don't worry, be happy in my love. Do your best, don't worry and be happy in my love. It takes a lot of practice, this act of letting go. Remember you're a player and you don't control the show. First you do your best and then you leave it in his hands. And when you try to live like this, you just might understand. It's all about his hand. The beauty and the freedom and the meaning of. Don't worry, be happy in my love. Do your best, don't worry and be happy in my love. This doesn't mean don't pay your bills, ignore your family, or let your crazy all hang out on everyone you see. You still must face the things you must still do the best you can. And after you have tried your best and leave it in his hands, you might not get just what you want, but you'll get what you need. First you do the best you can and then you don't worry. If you do but don't succeed, don't worry, be happy in my love. Do your best, don't worry and be happy in my love. I wish that I could do this, I've been running for so long. It's time to walk the walk and not to sing the song. He asked us all to do our best and then to let go of our worry and be happy in his love. Happy in his love. So I will put my trust in him and try to practice on. Don't worry, be happy in his love. Do your best, don't worry and be happy in my love. Just do your best and that is not enough. Then let it go and don't worry, be happy in my love. Do your best and don't worry, be happy in my love. Do your best and don't worry, be happy in my love.
జై బాబానికి, జై బాబానికి. నౌ మెహర్ ప్రేమ్ ఫ్రమ్ UK, he will sing a Hindi bhajan.
अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय। कोई नहीं कोई ना सत को जाने, मेहर ही सब जाने मेहर ही सब जाने। ओ कोई नहीं कोई न सत को जाने, मेहर ही सब जाने मेहर ही सब जाने। ऊंचा नीचा ज्ञानी अज्ञानी ऊंचा नीचा, ज्ञानी अज्ञानी छोटा नम्र बड़ा अभिमानी, छोटा नम्र बड़ा अभिमानी, दूर है पास है गलत सही है, दूर है पास है गलत सही है, कौन से पहचाने मेहर ही सब जाने, जाने मेहर ही सब जाने। राम का काम को राम से होगा, राम का काम को राम से होगा, कृष्ण की लीला कृष्ण रचेगा, कृष्ण की लीला कृष्ण रचेगा, अपना अपना काम अलग है, अपना अपना काम अलग है, काहे से न माने मेहर ही सब जाने, जाने मेहर ही सब जाने। हंसना गाना ध्यान लगाना, हंसना गाना ध्यान लगाना, प्रेम से अपनी धुन रमाना, प्रेम से अपनी धुन रमाना, सुन कर पढ़ कर सत्य परखना, सुन कर पढ़ कर सत्य परखना, राज वही दीवाने मेहर ही सब जाने, जाने मेहर ही सब जाने। मधुसूदन ये बर्म की पीड़ा, मधुसूदन ये बर्म की पीड़ा नहीं छुटती है, सब ही बिगाड़ा नहीं छुटती है, सब ही बिगाड़ा, प्रेम ही लेना प्रेम ही देना, प्रेम ही लेना प्रेम ही देना, और है क्या समझाने मेहर ही सब जाने, जाने मेहर ही सब जाने। ओ कोई नहीं, कोई नहीं, कोई ना सबको जाने मेहर ही सब जाने, जाने मेहर ही सब जाने, जाने मेहर ही सब जाने। अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय।
జై బాబా ప్రేమ్. ఇప్పుడు కాకినాడ నుండి శ్రావ్య మెహ్రా ఒక తెలుగు భజన పాడతారు.
अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय। ये पाठ पाडाली ओ मेहर बाबा, ఏ పూజ చేయాలి ఓ ప్రేమ దేవా, ఏ పాట పాడాలి ఓ మెహర్ బాబా, ఏ పూజ చేయాలి ఓ ప్రేమ దేవా, ఓ ప్రేమ దేవా. మౌన ముద్రను దాల్చి మనసు పీఠము వెల్సి పాష్పాల పాదాలు ప్రక్షాళనము చేసి, మౌన ముద్రను దాల్చి మనసు పీఠము వేసి పాష్పాల పాదాలు ప్రక్షాళనము చేసి సప్రోక్షణాలతో తరించనా, ఏ పాట పాడాలి ఓ మెహర్ బాబా, ఏ పూజ చేయాలి ఓ ప్రేమ దేవా, ఓ ప్రేమ దేవా. గుండె సవ్వడి కూర్చి హృదయ నాదము చేర్చి కనురెప్పలయలతో స్వరజితుల పలికించి, గుండె సవ్వడి కూర్చి హృదయ నాదము చేర్చి కనురెప్పలయలతో స్వరజితుల పలికించి ఆత్మతో నినదించనా, పరమాత్మకే వినిపించనా, ఏ పాట పాడాలి ఓ మెహర్ బాబా, ఏ పూజ చేయాలి ఓ ప్రేమ దేవా, ఏ పాట పాడాలి ఓ మెహర్ బాబా, ఏ పూజ చేయాలి ఓ ప్రేమ దేవా, ఓ ప్రేమ దేవా. अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय.
जय बाबा श्राव्या मेहर. अब मुंबई से मेहर प्रिया मिस्त्री एक हिंदी भजन गाएंगे.
अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय. ध्याये अतिरुचिर मधु मधुर, अतिरुचिर मधु मधुर हारे ये पीर मेहर श्री ध्याये. सत्यं शिवं सुंदरं श्री मेहर, सत्यं शिवं सुंदरं श्री मेहर, दानी दयालु कृपालु मेहर, दानी दयालु कृपालु मेहर, शांति चिदानंद, शांति चिदानंद मेहर श्री ध्याये. ध्यानी जपो एक ही मंत्र बोले, ध्यानी जपो एक ही मंत्र बोले, प्रीति द्वार हृदय के खोलो, जागो उठो, द्वार हृदय के खोलो, दामन मधुसूदना हाथ गहलो, दामन मधुसूदना हाथ गहलो, आए प्रभु देख, आए प्रभु देख, मेहर श्री ध्याइए, अति रुचिर मधु मधुर, अति रुचिर मधु मधुर, हारे ये पीर मेहर श्री ध्याइए। अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय।
జై బాబా మెహర్ ప్రియ మిస్త్రి. ఇప్పుడు హైదరాబాద్ నుండి గోపాలకృష్ణ మెహర్ ఒక తెలుగు భజన పాడతారు.
సర్వోన్నతునే శరణని నమ్మిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమా, సర్వార్పణతో సన్నిధి చేరిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమా. సర్వోన్నతునే శరణని నమ్మిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమా, సర్వార్పణతో సన్నిధి చేరిన ప్రేమా, తానను గర్వం వీడి మెహరం ప్రేమే ప్రేమా. ప్రేమించుట లక్షణమై నిలచిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమా, ప్రేమించుటలో త్యాగము చూపిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమా, ప్రేమతో మానవ సేవను చేసిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమా, ప్రేమ జీవనము గడిపి తరించిన ప్రేమే హృదయములో ఆ మూర్తిని నిలపిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమ. శరణని నమ్మిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమ. సర్వాత్మలతో సన్నిధి చేరిన గురుతర బాధ్యతనెల్ల గ్రహించిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమ. గురువచనము జీవనమై నడచిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమ. గురు సాయుజ్యము పొంది తరించు ప్రేమే ప్రేమ. మానవులకు ఆదర్శప్రాయమౌ ప్రేమే ప్రేమ. ప్రేమ కోసమే జీవించిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమ. ప్రేమ కోసమే మరణించిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమ. సర్వోన్నతునే శరణని నమ్మిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమ. సర్వార్పణతో సన్నిధి చేరిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమ. సర్వోన్నతునే శరణని నమ్మిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమ. సర్వార్పణతో సన్నిధి చేరిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమ. సర్వార్పణతో సన్నిధి చేరిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమ. సర్వార్పణతో సన్నిధి చేరిన ప్రేమే ప్రేమ.
ఇప్పుడు మన భజన్స్ కార్యక్రమం ఇంతటితో ముగిసిందండి. మన తరువాతి అంకం బాబా మండలి సభ్యుడైనటువంటి సరోష్ ఇరానీ,
Talk by Gulnar and Freny. Okay, now. Okay, Mummy, you start.
సరోష్ ఇరానీ కుమార్తె అయినటువంటి గుల్నార్ ఫ్రీని ఇప్పుడు బాబాతో ఉన్నటువంటి అనుభవాలను మనతో పంచుకుంటారు. కళ్యాణ్ మెహర్ వాళ్ళకి సంబంధించినటువంటి పరిచయ వాక్యాలని చెబుతూ అలాగే వారి యొక్క ప్రసంగాన్ని మనందరి కోసం తెలుగు మరియు హిందీ భాషల్లో అనువదిస్తారు. ఓవర్ టు యు బ్రదర్ కళ్యాణ్ మెహర్.
You sing something.
అవతార్ మెహర్ బాబా కీ జై. సరోష్ ఇరానీ బాబా మండలి సభ్యుల్లో ఒకరిగా మనందరికీ సుపరిచితులే. అయితే 1920వ దశాబ్దం నుంచి కూడా బాబాతోటి వారి సాన్నిధ్యం మనకి తెలిసిందే. ఈ రోజు ప్రీతమ బాబా అనుగ్రహం వల్ల ఈ సహవాస్ కార్యక్రమంలో మన స్క్రీన్ పై గుల్నార్ మరియు ఫ్రీనీని చూడగలుగుతాండి. వీరు సరోష్ ఇరానీ వారి కుమార్తెలు. అయితే మనము దారా ఇరానీ ఎప్పుడైతే మనకి కొద్ది వారాల క్రితం ప్రసంగించారో మనకి ఈ ఆన్లైన్ సహవాస్ మీద వారి ప్రస్తావన కూడా తీసుకొని రావడం జరిగింది. చిన్న పిల్లలుగా వారి బాల్యంలో వీరందరూ కూడా ఒకే వయోవర్గంలో ఉండడం వల్ల పిల్లలుగా బాబా ముందు ఆడడం, బాబా సహవాసుల్లో కార్యక్రమంలో పాల్గొనడం, అలాగే వారి తల్లిదండ్రులు వారి కుటుంబాల్లో భాగంగా బాబా గుల్నార్జీ జై బాబా. we're just going over the introduction. We'll over to you in just 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So ఈ ఇంట్రడక్షన్ ని ముందుకు తీసుకెళ్తూ అండి.
Just talk. Don't get disturbed by that. Just talk. Whatever he says, he'll tell me when.
వీరందరూ చిన్న పిల్లలుగా మనం ఇందాక అనుకున్నట్టే సహవాస కార్యక్రమంలో బాబా యొక్క సహవాస భాగ్యాన్ని పొందినవారు. అయితే గుల్నార్ వారి భర్త డాక్టర్ హిర్జీ అదెన్ వాలా వీరు కూడా బాల్యంలో చిన్నప్పుడు బాబా యొక్క దర్శన భాగ్యాన్ని పొందిన వారే. అయితే ఇక్కడ ఈ ప్రస్తావన ఎందుకు తీసుకొస్తున్నాం అంటే ఒక అరుదైన విషయాన్ని మన అందరితో ఇక్కడ పంచుకోవడానికి. డాక్టర్ ఆడెన్ వాలా చిన్న పిల్లల శస్త్రచికిత్సలో ప్రపంచ వ్యాప్తిగా ప్రశంసలు అందుకున్నవారు. బాబా వారి చేతుల ద్వారా 16,000 పిల్లల యొక్క చికిత్స, ముఖ్యంగా ఈ చీలికైన పెదవి సంబంధించిన శస్త్రచికిత్స, ఏదైతే ఆ చిరునవ్వు పెదాల మీద ఉంటుందో దానికి సంబంధించిన శస్త్రచికిత్స అండి. వారికి స్మైల్ మేకర్ అనే బిరుదును కూడా ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది. అయితే కొద్ది మాసాల క్రితం 28 మే 2020 సంవత్సరం, అంటే ఇదే సంవత్సరం రోజు డాక్టర్ ఆడెన్ వాలా శ్వాస విరిచి బాబాని చేరుకున్నారు. అయితే ఈ రోజు వీరిరువురి దగ్గర నుంచి బాబా యొక్క విషయాల్ని, వారి యొక్క స్మృతుల్ని విందాం. अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय। प्रीतम बाबा की इच्छानुसार आज हमारे साथ गुलनार जी और फ्रीनी जी इस ऑनलाइन मंच पर आप देख पा रहे हैं। वे सरोश ईरानी जो बाबा के मंडली के सदस्य हैं, हम सब इनके नाम से सुपरिचित हैं, इनके सुपुत्रियां हैं। सरोज जी हम जानते हैं 1920वीं दशाब्दी से बाबा के सानिध्य में रहे हैं और आज इनके बचपन की गाथाएं, कहानियां जो बाबा के साथ सहवास का महाभाग्य इन्होंने पाया है उसके बारे में सुनते हैं। एक मुख्य और अनोखी चीज जो हम सब यहाँ पे इन सब के साथ हम बांटना चाहते हैं वो ये है कि गुलनार जी के पति डॉक्टर हिरजी आडन वाला, उन्होंने भी अपने बाल्य में अथवा बाद में बाबा के दर्शन का महाभाग्य पाया। इतना ही नहीं, डॉक्टर आडन वाला बालों के, छोटे बच्चों के शस्त्र चिकित्सन में, जो पीडियाट्रिक सर्जरी हम कहते हैं, उसमें इन्होंने सारे विश्व के संस्थाओं, सारे दुनिया के संस्थाओं से इन्होंने प्रशंसा पाया। करीब 16,000 से भी ज्यादा बच्चों का इन्होंने सर्जरीज में इनका किया और उनका नाम स्माइल मेकर के नाम से भी प्रसिद्ध माना जाता है। आज के दिन अगर आप डॉक्टर आडन वाला के नाम से आप गूगल करते हैं तो काफी ज्यादा इनके बारे में सुन सकते हैं, जान सकते हैं। डॉक्टर आडन वाला बाबा प्रेमी थे और इस साल 28 मई को उन्होंने अपना आखिरी श्वास छोड़ा और बाबा के चरणों में पहुंच गए। आइए आज सुनते हैं गुलनार जी से और फ्रीनी जी से उनके बचपन की यादें। सप्रेम जय बाबा और हार्दिक स्वागत। गुलनार जी, फ्रीनी जी, hearty welcome and heartful jai baba to both of you. We are delighted to hear the stories of your childhood and your memories with family, with baba. Of course, we are delighted to hear from you. Over to you for the next few minutes.
Jai Baba, very happy to be here with all of you all and to relate my childhood stories and share them with you all. I'm digressing a little bit. Yesterday I heard Dara's talk about his mother Gulu. Gulu auntie, even though I was just 3 or 4 years old when she passed away, I have a lot of memories of her. I was very, very fond of Gulu auntie. I think I have more memories of her as a child of that age than I did of my mother. Gulu auntie used to look after me, she used to feed me, and she almost brought me up. And if you see Dara's wedding picture, next to Gulu auntie, there's a picture of a small girl. Well, that happens to be me, and I was so attached to her that I even accompanied her and Adi Masa, that is her husband, that is Adi Junior. I accompanied them to for their honeymoon, and I went to Panchgani, and they stayed in a hotel called Bristol. Well, I don't remember all that, but I was told that I did go with them for their honeymoon. Anyway, Gulu auntie, as I said, she was always there for me. I remember one day my old ayah who used to look after me had gone away, and I was very upset by it. And it was Gulu auntie who sat there with me in the evening, consoling me and telling me, don't worry, Baraya will come back, don't you worry. And then it was that morning of the 24th when she gave birth to Dara. It was in the green bedroom in our Viloo Villa house, and I was in the drawing room. I was 4.5 years old then, and I knew something was happening because there was a lot of people bustling around, and a lot of people, there was anxiety, there were people in tears, there was sounds coming from that room, and then I don't remember Baba coming in, but I was told that Baba did come to see Gulu auntie, and then he went to see my mother, and my mother was absolutely distraught with grief, and she told Baba, okay, if you are God, you please make my sister alive again. And of course he couldn't do that, and that was when my mother's faith in Baba was shattered. Anyway, as children, I remember at that time then we were taken away to my uncle's house at that time. But we spent our early years in Kuchru quarters as a joint family. There was my grandfather Kekishru, his wife was Gulnar. Then my grandmother Gulnar's husband, brother, was also Kekishru, and his wife was Gulmai. My grandfather was dead against Baba. He did not accept Baba at all, and he was very unhappy about my father following Meher Baba. Gulmai was a follower of Meher Baba, and when my dad was about 18 years old, he went with Gulmai to Pune, where Baba was staying in a small jhopri somewhere outside Pune, and they went in a tanga to visit him. My dad stayed in the tanga, and Gulmai got down, and she went inside to see Baba. As soon as she went inside, Baba is supposed to have asked her, okay, who is that in the tanga? So she says, no, that's just my nephew Sarosh. He says, ask him to come in. So she went out and called my dad, and then Baba, there was an instant attraction to Baba, and Baba asked my father, okay, do you want to become, he told my father, okay, I can make you like the king of Ahmednagar if you follow me. So as I said, my father was immediately attracted to Meher Baba, and he was drawn to him, and he then became a Baba follower from that day onwards. And of course my father didn't become king of Nagar, but he was like an uncrowned king of Ahmednagar, because he rose to become a very important person in Ahmednagar. Everybody knew him, and he held very high positions. Anyway, after this, my father went to Bombay, where he was working in General Motors, and he was living with Baba in Manzil Amin. And they had to follow very, very strict rules over there. So some of them were really very strict to follow. I remember my dad telling me about them. I don't remember all the rules, but there are two of them. One was when he traveled for work in the to work in the train. He wasn't supposed to look at any of the hoardings. He was just supposed to look straight and not see any of the hoardings. Also, he was not to acknowledge any of his friends. He wasn't to acknowledge any friends, any relatives, whomever he met on the way. So, of course, this was rather difficult at times to follow, and many times I think my dad did break the rules. And then when that happened, Adi uncle, that is Adi senior, would snitch on my father, and then when my father went to Manzila Min, he would find his suitcase, his bag, everything lying outside, and then he had to go inside. He had to apologize to Baba for what he had done, and then of course Baba would take him in. And of course my dad also, I suppose, snitched on Adi uncle also, because they seemed to be like a game that they had together. After Manzila Min, my dad came back to Ahmednagar. They were living in Kishru Quarters. He had the workshop over there. And then in about 1943, we left Kishru Quarters and we moved to Viloo Villa. So Baba did the division, because at that time the family owned a lot of property. So Kishru Quarters went to Adi Senior, the workshop and the cinema went to my father, and there was another big shop in the cantonment area which went to my dad's elder brother. So as I said, my grandfather was very against Meher Baba, and there was, I think it was Rustam's wedding, that is Adi Senior's brother's wedding, when Baba is supposed to have walked in at that time, and my grandfather got very angry with him and asked him to leave. So my dad told my father about Baba about this case. Can't you do something? I mean, why is he so against you? So Baba is supposed to have told him, don't worry. He's a good man. He's a very good man at heart. And it doesn't matter what he thinks of me. At least he's thinking of me, whether it's good thoughts or bad thoughts. I am in his thoughts, so don't worry about that. And so, as children, we were brought up, with a lot of contact with Meher Baba. We were taken to Meherazad to meet him. We were taken to Meherabad, and every time we went to Meherazad to see him, he would always, we would embrace him. He would give us a little pat on the cheek, and then he would always make this sign as if to say, you're very good, and that would really please you no end. But it wasn't that we believed him as God. I mean, at that age, you couldn't sort of think, how can a human being be God? So we didn't really accept him as God, but it was somebody whom we respected, whom we held in awe, and we loved going to Meherazad because we loved meeting Baba. And then of course there was Mani, who all of us as children loved being with her. She would tell us stories, sing songs, and she was full of fun. Mehra, we were, I think, all a little in awe of, because she was somebody, whom we knew was, we sort of held her up in the pedestal, and we were little in awe of Mehra. Then of course there was Goher and Katie. They were like relatives to us. My mother was very close to them. And my father, in spite of the fact that he was so close to Baba, never forced his beliefs on us. I mean, we could say anything we wanted about Baba, whether it was derogatory, whether it was a joke or anything. Dad would just sit over there and listen to us. He never said anything. And my mother, as I said, after her sister died, she didn't believe in Baba as God. She accepted him as somebody to respect, a big person, and she did whatever Baba wanted her to do. Maybe organize a function or do some errands for him or whatever it is. She would do quite happily. My earliest, other than going to Merazad and all that, one of my closest recollections with Baba is when I must have been about 8 or 9 years old, and I used to go to a boarding school in Pune, and it so happened I was in Ahmednagar at that time on holiday, and I had to be taken to school. So my father was going to take Baba to Pune in the blue Chevrolet. So he must have asked Baba's permission whether I could also accompany them in the car. And Baba must have said yes. So before we left for Pune, Baba came to Viloo Villa for lunch. And I remember him walking across the drawing room, going into the dining room and turning left and sitting at the tail end of the dining table. And his favorite was just plain dal and rice and a red jelly, which he had for lunch. And then we set off for Pune. Now I know my dad was driving, Sarosh was driving, Baba was in the front. Who was behind me, I can't remember. It must have been some of the women mandali, and I was kept in one little corner on the right hand side. I was given a very tiny space to sit, and since I felt very car sick, I was given a tin in my hand with a towel, and I was told, you sit over there quietly. If you feel sick, you have to get sick. You have to tell them. So anyway, we drove to Pune, and on the way, as usual, I felt very sick. So my dad had to stop the car. I got down, and I was getting very sick. And what was really, touching was that Baba got down from the car. He came to me and he held my hand whilst I got sick, and that was so comforting to have him there holding my head. So after that, of course, we went to Pune. We left Baba at Guru Prasad, and I was taken back to school. But that memory has remained with me so clearly. I can still sort of see him standing there on the roadside holding my head. And like that, I mean, there must be so many memories which now have just all gone away. And unfortunately, when we were children, we didn't really pay much attention to it all. There was one time I remember we went to Mehrabad, all dressed up in salwar kameezes. It was a big thing to wear a salwar kameez at that time. Freny and Dara must have been about 4 or 5 years old. I must have been about 9. And we went there to celebrate Mehra's birthday. And Baba was sitting on that. There's a big couch there. If you go to Mehrabad, there's like a shed over there, and there's a big couch there. So Baba was sitting on that couch, and Mani Auntie had put up a little show. There was a play, there was some singing and dancing, and I remember it was a very, very enjoyable evening. But what exactly the play was about and all that, that is, I can't really remember. And it's every time we came back from school, we went to see Baba, and every time before going back to school, we also were taken to see him if he was in Nagar. We also visited him several times in Guru Prasad. When we were in Pune, we have also visited him in Guru Prasad. Now, as I said, my mother did not at that time believe in Baba, but she respected him and she did whatever Baba told her to do. So there were many times when she helped out in organizing functions and all that. So in 1954, there was this big gathering of Westerners at Meherabad, where my mother organized she helped in the catering and looking after all the Westerners, and she also had them over at Viloo Villa for tea. I think just now we were shown a big photograph of them all there. And but my mom was quite a clever lady, you see. She knew how to get my dad to do things which he didn't want to do. So there are many occasions when she would, if my dad was, my dad had a habit of spending too much of money. If he had 10 rupees in his pocket, he would spend 20 rupees. So she would threaten, and tell my father, okay, look, if you're going to behave like this, I'm going to tell Baba about you. So that somehow didn't deter my dad. So one day she went with my father to Merazad, and she complained to my father, okay, look, I don't know what to do, but Sarosh is spending too much of money. I can't manage the housekeeping with him like this. He just keeps giving away money, spending money. How am I to manage? So Baba told her, you don't worry, he says, I am there. I will look after you. And till the end of her life, where money was concerned, she didn't really have to worry about him, because Baba really did look after her. When my father passed away, as I said, he was so generous. When my father passed away, he had a lot of debts to pay up. He would stand as surety for so many people. Somebody wanted money, they would borrow this money from here, borrow money from there, and my father would stand as surety for them. So when he passed away, my mom was responsible for paying up all these debts, and we didn't know how she was going to pay, because his bank balance was literally nil. So at that time, all the Western Baba lovers had just started coming to Ahmednagar. So, and they had nowhere to stay. So many of them would stay at Viloo Villa, and mom would look after them, and then they would go and visit Merazad and Meherabad and all. So Adi Senior told her, look, Viloo, you have to have something to live on, because and you have to pay up all these debts. So this is how you can do it. By keeping all the Baba lovers here, you charge them for their boarding and lodging, and it will also give you something to do. So that is what my mother started doing. And at that time also, Dara and Amrit came back from the UK and helped her in this. And over a period of years, my mother paid back every penny that my father owed. I remember the last amount of money that she must have, Money Auntie may have given her a loan also, because I remember going with my mother to the trust office and my mother handing over this last amount to Money Auntie, and Money Auntie sort of holding it near Baba's picture, and telling and saying thank you to my mother. And the strange thing is, after my mother had finished off with her debts and she had a sizable, a comfortable income to live on, all the Baba lovers stopped coming, because by that time Lower Meherabad, that pilgrim center at Lower Meherabad was built, and they all went and started living over there, and she didn't have to keep any more Baba lovers, except maybe the few odd ones who liked staying at Viloo Villa. So that is in one way how Baba really came to my mother's, helped my mother through her financial ways, and so through the years, he has always been there for us whenever we've had any problems or anything like that. Baba's always been there to help us through it. There's one amusing story with my father, which I must tell you. My father had a passion for cars, and he loved buying new American cars. In those days, we used to get all these big American cars like Chevrolets, Plymouths, Fords, etc. So my father had bought this big Oldsmobile. I remember it was a green one from the Maharaja of Gawalia. They had a palace very close to our relative's house in Vanuri. So my dad had bought this second-hand car, and he took it over to Baba, and he showed it to him very proudly and said, "See, Baba, I brought a new car. I'd like you to see it." So Baba saw it, nodded his head and all, and said, and sort of made a good sign. And then a couple of days later, he sends word to my dad that he's supposed to go to some farm in Pune and pick up some pigs, and those pigs are to be brought in this car. So, of course, my dad couldn't say no to Baba. He knew what the consequences were going to be, but he had to listen to Baba. So there, my mom and my dad went off to Pune to get these pigs, and they kept them at the back of this new car. And by the time they came to Nagar, you can imagine the mess and the filth and the dirt which was there at the back of the car. But this was a way, I think, of Dad bringing down my father's ego and pride in his car. And there was also another thing, you know, when Baba gave you an instruction, you had to listen to it. You couldn't argue. If you argued with him, he did not argue back. He says, okay, do it your way. But if you did it your way, you could be quite certain that things would not go right. And so this happened when my father had his prostate surgery done. There were two surgeons in question. I'm not going to mention their names. There was Surgeon A and Surgeon B. Now, Baba told my father, you go to Surgeon A. But my husband thought Surgeon A was not that good, and he told my Sarosh, you go to Surgeon B. So Sarosh listened to my husband, to Hirji, and he went to Surgeon B, and everything right from the beginning, everything went wrong. The bladder didn't heal, there was a hole in the bladder, there was urine coming out from the top, the wound wasn't healing, he had a suprapubic tube put in, and everything whatever you can think of, everything went wrong. My dad was mentally very depressed, very unhappy. We would take him to Merazad to be with Baba and all that, and Baba would sort of, you know, nod at him and tell him, don't worry, it'll all get well. Ultimately, Baba told him, hey, you go back now to Bombay, but you go to Surgeon A. That is the surgeon that Baba had first mentioned. You go to Surgeon A and you have it done there. And that's what my father did. He went back to Surgeon A, and the surgery was redone, and it all went well, and my dad was back on his feet in no time. So basically, you should listen to Baba, whatever he has to say. There shouldn't be any argument. If you argue and do what you want, you can rest assured things wouldn't go right. I think I should hand over to Freny now, but I just want to tell you, my, my husband and Hidji and I, that's my husband and I, we came to accept Baba as God gradually. It wasn't something which was overnight. It was very gradual. But now Baba fills our lives. He is always with us. And he was there when my husband died at 7 o'clock in the morning. He was there as we started the prayers in the morning. He took, everything was okay. His parameters were all right. His oxygen level was okay. His pulse was okay. But as my elder daughter Homai started saying the prayers, at that time at 7 o'clock, my husband Hilji, he breathed his last, and he passed away. And Baba always said, Hilji was a highly evolved soul, and I think Baba, he has gone straight to Baba, and he is with him there, and that is my main consolation and comfort now. Everywhere I go, Baba fills my mind. If I open my phone, his face is over there. Always his face always comes up, and he is helping me through these very, very difficult days. Freny, I think we can take it over from here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Thanks, Gulnar. That was lovely, and thank you for giving such a lovely background, a lot of which I also didn't know. Jai Baba to everybody. Happy to be with you all, and so privileged and feel very humbled because you all, Gopi, all of you all spend so much of time, devote so much of time to service in Baba, whereas we, of course, we think of Baba all the time, but we don't do this wonderful kind of service. But Baba has got this this way of, sometimes getting us to reinforce our faith and belief in him. And this is a lovely way because his talk is bringing back memories of early beginnings with Baba, Childhood, Dara and myself, as Dara has told you in an earlier, can you hear?
Yes, Renji, we can hear you. Please continue.
So, as Dara has told you in an earlier video, that we grew up with, we grew up together and with multiple visits. And, we were in a household where Dad was a complete, utter Baba devotee. But the wonderful thing is, like Gulnar said, he never enforced his faith on us. And that must have shown how much faith he had in Baba, that he would not, it wouldn't upset him. I know, because sometimes when someone close to me doesn't, believe in Baba, and it upsets me. But then I say to myself, I know how my dad must have felt, because I was also one of those who used to, sometimes taunt the Baba lovers. Anyways, I'll come to that later. But I have many, memories of visits to Meherabad and to Guru Prasad also. But, and I remember, well, I'm not, unlike Gulnar, I didn't always go willingly. I mean, in the sense that I always thought, oh my goodness, now there's something else that we could do. But when we went, it was a very good feeling. And we were always so welcomed. And the Baba would literally engulf us in his arms. And whenever I hugged Baba, I felt as though I was hugging a cloud. He was so soft. And he would always, what in Gujarati we say pasfaro, means, stroke our cheeks. and do this, that, you're okay, sort of thing. And that would make us all feel very happy, as Gulnar said. Now, Dad, I think, told us once that he told Baba that, look, because I asked Dad, I said, haven't you asked Baba why your family is not, they don't believe in Baba as the avatar? We all respected him, loved him as I always thought of him as an benevolent, a very sort of wonderful, loving uncle. So Dad said that Baba told him, okay, this is not our time, and like there was a movie recently which says, Tumhara time aayega. So our time hadn't come till much later. And Baba sort of evolved his own way, even after he dropped his body, of getting, at least this is how he got me to come to Baba. But before that, I want to talk about Dad and the memories I have of Dad's, his utter faith in Baba. And whenever we'd get into the car to go on a journey with him, he would tell us to be quiet because he would want to recite Baba's name so many hundreds or thousands of times, I don't know. So for a while we would have to keep quiet, and then once it was over, then he would talk to us. And he probably told us some nice stories about Baba, which I didn't pay much attention to because I was not interested. I mean, we were brought up, we had gone to a boarding school run by Protestant nuns, and our beliefs, our idea of God was the Holy Father up in heaven, or we'd go to the fire temple where also, we'd see pictures of Zarathustra, and always, we thought, okay, there's God somewhere up in heaven. And we couldn't imagine that anybody could call themselves God when they were there, like us, flesh and blood. We realized later, we didn't have, the veil hadn't dropped in front of our eyes. Now, the thing is that I remember one story which Dad recounted, and that has stayed with me always because it's like a metaphor for how one must go through life, or if you're in difficulty. So he and Mom had gone to Aurangabad for some reason, maybe it was some Baba work, and they'd gone in a jeep, that one of those cars which are it's like it's got no doors, it's open on either side, and it's a rough weather car. It's like a four-wheeler. So on the way back, they encountered a lot of rain, and there was this, this nala, like a little stream. So the road dipped into it and went up the other side. It was quite close to Naga. Now, because of the rain, there was a terrific flash flood which came and swept them off, and they were they were out of the jeep, they were floundering around in water. I think fortunately both could swim. Daddy was holding on to Mama, and he kept calling Baba's name, and then he told us later that the water had come up to his nose, but then when they got back, they went to Merazad, and he told Baba that this is what happened, and I took your name. So Baba said, I know. He says, don't worry, I will always let the water come up to your nose and not go over your head. So every time we face any trouble, I always think of that Baba will let the water come up to our nose, but he won't let it cover our heads. He won't let us drown. He is there to uphold us. So that's a very strong memory which I have of Dada, that's Sarosh. And then I remember another thing he said which stuck with me is that there were many evenings when Adi Senior would come over to the house to have a drink with us, dinner with us, and then he would expound on all these, theories about the different planes, the evolution, which went straight over our heads. And I wasn't interested, to be honest, at that time. So Daddy would just smile and laugh. And then after he left, I remember asking Dad once that, how come you haven't read any of these books? Why haven't you read any of these books? So he says it's not necessary to read anything. He says, I haven't read a single piece of literature about Baba. He says, some people reach Baba through their intellect and then it filters down to their heart. Some people they hit straight into the heart, and he says that's what happened with me. I was hit straight into the heart by Baba's love. So that I thought was a very good thing because, and that gave me comfort later on in life because I don't read any of these books. I mean, the minute I start reading all the heavy books, it goes straight over my head now. I read the lighter ones. Now, about Baba and the mandali, there was this, with the mandali, there was a lovely connection because they were all very nice ladies, I thought they were full of fun. They loved their food, and Mum was a great provider in the sense that every time they said, Viloo, when are you going to send us some lunch? So Mama would say, you let me know what you'd like. So they would give their menu, and Mama would make all their favorite things and have it sent in big dekchis, with these big vessels to Mehrazad. And even when Baba was in body at that time, she'd sent these meals across. And then once she asked me, she says, I've run out of dessert. I mean, Soni, that's our cook, didn't know what dessert to make. So why don't you make something? Now, I had no interest in cooking or in the kitchen. I was too wrapped up in my own vanities. So the only memories I have of the only time we went voluntary into the kitchen, Dara and myself, was when Hidji's mother, Homa auntie, who was my mother's best friend, would visit us in Nagar, and she would, bake a whole lot of cakes and things like that. So Dara and myself would very eagerly want to beat the batter because then when it was removed into the tin, we could lick it. You see. So that was the only time we went voluntarily. Anyways, back to the dessert. So I said, now what do I do? And I have no memory of where I got this recipe from, but I made a lemon tart and sent it off. And then there was a message the next day, such messages of appreciation from the mandali and most importantly from Baba. He loved the lemon tart. So I was, of course, felt very chuffed. I still didn't believe in Baba as the avatar, but I was very happy that, he appreciated my lemon tart. Then it was asked for again, so I had to make it again. Subsequently, after Baba dropped his body and the mandali, I think, once asked about the lemon tart, I said, I don't know how to make it. I don't have the recipe. And I really don't. From maybe a year or two ago, one of the Baba lovers asked me for the recipe, and I have no idea where I got it from. I mean, I didn't have recipe books. I don't know where I got it from. Anyways, then talking about the mandali, so they used to be very, once they wanted to see, they loved watching movies as and when they could. So there was a particularly nice movie showing at I think it was My Fair Lady, showing at the Army Theatre, the open air theatre that we had, which was under the tank garages. There was an open air one and there was this one. So they must have begged Baba to let them come, and Daddy ensured complete privacy for them. So they came, I remember, it was such a treat, and then one of us sat in front, maybe it was Anita, I can't remember, and one of us sat behind them. So they were completely surrounded by women because Baba didn't want any male presence to sort of contaminate their innocent presence. So that was that. And then years later, again talking about the food connection, when Cecil and myself had settled down in Pune, there was, Kavir was in town with Cheryl and one other person, I can't remember whom, and we invited them over for lunch. And I was a little hesitant because my husband is not a Baba follower, and I was a little hesitant. But my husband, if nothing else, makes a wonderful host. So when they came, he gave them beer, we had a wonderful meal, and then afterwards, Kavir wanted to sleep. So she and my mama went to sleep on this narrow bed that we had kept in the downstairs bedroom for my mum. It was actually a sofa cum bed. How they both fitted onto it, I don't know, but they were like two peas in a pod. It was so cute. And I think Cheryl might have taken a picture, I'm not sure. I don't have it any longer. I don't have it. But those were very nice memories. Then, talking about Mama. Now, Mama was the mother is always a big influence where religion is concerned. She's the one who, who's with her children. And my Mama was not particularly religious, but she would take us dutifully to Baba. She would take us to, the fire temple. And like I said, we also had a lot of, I had a lot of connection with churches because I liked going into a church. It was very conducive to prayer. But Mum was, because she wasn't a Baba follower, I don't think she influenced any of us to be. So, so when her conversion came, years ago, when there was a Baba Center in Hamirpur, which was going to inaugurate a statue of Baba. And they wanted someone to come and inaugurate it. Now, obviously, Baba couldn't go. So Baba called my dad and he said, I'm going to send you as my representative. And you have to take Viloo with you. So Baba said, my dad said, Baba, you're asking me to do the impossible. You know my wife, how finicky she is. My mother was known for her fastidiousness. She was very particular. She didn't like any smells which were not to her liking, to the extent that she even banned the servants from having fenugreek spinach because it would make them smell. So, and then, Begum Akhtar, the famous ghazal singer, she'd come to our house once and stayed, I think, for 2 days. And when she left, she says, I've never come across a better kept home. And she said, you can't even find a pinch of dust in the house. Now, Baba, had asked Dad to take Mum to this dusty little hamlet in Hamirpur. Now, how was Daddy going to do that? So I think they must have bartered maybe some extra games of cards for my mother. My dad said, I won't disturb you when you're playing. So they went to Hamirpur. And they saw, and Mama was conquered. She came back totally a Baba lover. And she came back and she said, it was she had a peculiar way of speaking English. So she would say, it's a miracle. So what she meant was a miracle. So what happened was that when they went there, the people there, local people there, had made as much arrangements as they could to make them comfortable. But then when the Baba statue was unveiled, there were these hundreds of poor villagers lined up from the dusty districts, unwashed, unkempt, some of them, who wanted to come and embrace Mum and Dad because they were representatives of Baba. So Mum said, I thought to myself, how am I going to let them touch me? Because she would keep them at arm's length. But when they came, she said she didn't know whether it was her, somebody else inhabited her body, but she just embraced them all one after the other. And she said, I couldn't smell them. I didn't see their dirt. All I felt was immense love for Baba. And she said, then I said to myself, she told me in Gujarati, which I'll translate in English, there must be something to this man. He is truly God. If he can get so many of these people out in the nowhere to manage to, to such love overflowing. So then she went to Merazad rather, and she told Baba in a very, in a very practical, matter-of-fact way, okay, Baba, now I know. I believe you. It was a miracle. Now you're God. That's it. So he was accepted as God by Mama, and Baba must have just smiled. I wasn't there. She came back and she said Baba was very happy. Now the thing is, like I said, when we were children, Daddy never enforced all this. He didn't mind. I would sometimes poke fun at all the followers of Meher Baba, but I thought, I don't know, it was, now that I think back, it was so mean and so callous of me because my father would have, he must have been very hurt and wounded. But I know what it feels like now, so I know that Baba's way of testing your faith. Now, regarding my acceptance of Baba as the avatar. So, my husband and myself had got married in December, 31st of December, and then we went off for a honeymoon to Mauritius. So we were leaving 2 days later. My dad, broke as he was, gave us a wonderful wedding, and he had had a massive heart attack a year before, but he spared no trouble to give me a wedding as good as well as he could. So, and it was truly a lovely wedding. So, but I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to go on the honeymoon. And Cecil was very, I kept telling Cecil, can't we stay? I told Mama, I want to stay. Everybody's here. Mervan, Anita, Gulnar, Hiji, they're all here. And I was getting this funny premonition. So about Dad. So Mom said, don't be stupid. Which bride doesn't want to go on a honeymoon after marriage? So she sent me off, and our tickets were booked, our hotel was booked. So off we went to Mauritius. And it was lovely, and 3 or 4 days later, we get this terrible news. I remember, was it on the 7th or the 9th of Jan? I can't remember. That Dad had passed away. And we were called to the Air India office in Mauritius, in the main town there, and the Air India manager told us, and I was devastated. I was crying. My poor husband didn't know what to do with me for 3 days because there was no flight coming back for 3 days or 2 days or 3 days. Finally, when we came back and we entered the house, Mum was there and she held me and she said, I'm so sorry. I think she felt bad that she didn't listen to me and that I missed Daddy's funeral. So she says, anyways, go into his room. And so I went into Dad's room and I saw that his brush and comb were there. And his little wisps of hair. So I smelled the pomade was still, very strong on the brush. I opened the cupboard, smelled his clothes. And then I thought to myself, where is this father of ours gone? I mean, he can't have just gone. I mean, he must be somewhere. And then I looked up and I saw a picture of Baba above Dad's dressing table. And I asked, is he with you? And suddenly, it was like a light bulb went off inside my head. And I suddenly realized what Baba meant when he said he was the avatar, he was God in human form. He had realized the God within himself, and he was there all over, he was all universal. And we were all part of it, and only we accepted it. And that's my thinking of it. But I suddenly accepted Baba as the avatar, and that my dad's death was the catalyst. Now, before Dad died, he had made a booking for this group of Baba lovers who were led by Anna Rosa. No, sorry, not Anna Rosa. Yes, by Anna Rosa. And they were, Dad was very fond of the whole group. And there was Beth and Bob, and I don't remember the other names, but Beth and Bob, Beth is still in touch. We're very dear friends. So Anna Rosa phoned to find out if they should come. So Mum said, of course, you come. And so they came. It must have been a couple of weeks after Dad passed away. They were coming for Amartiti. So it was probably 3 weeks after Dad passed away. And they composed this lovely song about Dad, which they sang in the living room. And I wept and I wept and I wept. And then later on, and in my mind, I was just asking Baba for forgiveness all the time. That, I thought of all the times I'd made fun. It was terrible. Anyways, so I went and I went to Meherazad. And when we went to Meherazad, this was the first time after my realization of Baba as the Avatar. Mehra was there. And there was something different about her, when she saw me. She greeted me in a different way, a very warm way. So she hugged me and she whispered in my ear, go to Baba's room and ask his forgiveness and he will forgive you. I looked at her and I said, how on earth would she know? So I went into Baba's room. I knelt down on his pillow and I wept and I wept and I wept. And then subsequently when we went to the Meherabad again, I went into his tomb and I wept and I wept and I wept and I thought to myself, here I used to make fun of all the Baba lovers coming and crying and, I should say, oh God, look at them. And I was doing the same thing because it was like an unleashing of just getting rid of this burden that you have on you and accepting what is real. So then, how would that, to go back a little bit as to how was Baba was also instrumental in finding me my husband, because the minute I turned 18 or 20, I can't remember, my parents started parading a whole troop of boys, Parsi boys, for me to approve. See, my sister had set the benchmark by marrying at the age of 20. So they expected me, by 21 I was an old lady. So they wanted all these people to, got all these people to come. I didn't like any of them. What I wanted to do was get away from Ahmednagar and go to Bombay and work for Air India. Now how do I do that? So I told Mama. Mama said, are you crazy? Your father's never going to let you work, because he had this very Indian father macho thing about, I'm not going to let my daughter work, So then Mom said, only one way we can do it. We'll have to go to Baba. So it was very tricky of us, but then I told Dad, I asked him, when are you going next to Baba? So he said, why? I said, because I'd like to come. So he almost, dropped with surprise. He said, you want to come to Meherazad? You're asking me? I said, yes. So he was so guileless, Dad was, that he didn't know what these two women were conniving. So anyways, I put on my nice sari, wore a nice sari, I went there. And there was also one guy who had been shown to me in Bombay, who was a fat, dull man, but he was extremely wealthy, and he owned a factory which made khadi sakkar. Now, khadi sakkar is like crystallized sugar, which my dad used to always suck on along with cloves whenever he traveled. So he thought, wow, if he marries this guy, we'll have an endless supply of khadi sakkar. But I didn't want anything to do with that. So when we went to Meherazad, my dad told Baba, he said, look, so Baba asked me, what are you doing? So I said, nothing, Baba. So he says, look at her. She's not getting married. We're finding so many boys for her. There's this very nice chap who's got race horses. He's got a khadi sakkar factory. He's got very well. So Baba said, no, don't want him. He just did this. Don't want him. So Baba asked me, what do you want? So I said, I want to go to Air India and work for Air India. So Daddy almost fainted with absolute, he was, and he almost had an apoplectic fit of rage. He said, how can you go? How can you go to Bombay? So Baba said, she can go. So Baba said, she will go. So once Baba gives the order, you have to follow. So then he must have been fuming under his breath. And how will I go? Where will she stay? But then when so Baba said, let her go. Baba said, and my dad said, what about her getting married? He said, don't worry, I've got her. And he touched his heart and he said, I've got a very good fellow for her in Bombay. So I went to Bombay. Finally, I agreed. It was all sorted out, my staying there. Went to Bombay and then met my future husband. And 4 years later, we got married. He's not a Baba lover. He was never a Baba lover. But what he was doing was that he was actually helping all these groups of Baba lovers come in at Santa Cruz Airport, because my husband was like, he was like the boss of Santa Cruz Airport, and he could let an elephant through, leave alone groups of people. So he would let them through with no hassle. Otherwise, it was a big hassle getting large groups through. And Jal Dastur had contacted him. So Jal had got him to help. So through Cecil, all these groups were going. So he was actually doing Baba's work without knowing it. And then we got married. We had our little trials and tribulations. And then but my faith in Baba remained strong. And then he, as though, I had a couple of miscarriages, and then as though to, sort of make up for all that, he made it possible for us to have this beautiful daughter who's the light of our lives. And I started, she was born on Baba's birthday. And my sister was there, she was there to give me her blood, because I had this funny blood group. And Cecil, I think, and we had planned to name her, if it was a girl, Lucinda, after Cecil's mother who just passed on, or Sarosh if it was a boy. But then, being born on Baba's birthday, my mama just asked Cecil, can we call her Meher? So he was so relieved to have both wife and daughter alive and well, because I had a very difficult labor. He said yes, he agreed. So the funny thing is that he doesn't, not knowing it, he takes Baba's name every day because he calls his daughter Meher. So that's Baba's way of working little tricks on all of us. So that's it. And now, like I said, thereafter, all our, I think my time is up, all our trials, tribulations. The other thing is, I think, which has also held us in very good stead, is this wonderful, close-knit family that we have. I mean, my parents ensured it, mother made sure it continued, then all of us as a family continued, and we are touchwood, we are so close, and it has helped us with bearing a lot of problems. And now recently, our very, very, very dear member, Hirji, who's Gulnar's husband, who was like an older brother and like almost like a friend counselor, he passed on. So that has been a big, big blow to all of us. But there too, Baba has ways of compensating. And we just have to bear with it and carry on, And that's it. I can talk forever, like I'm known to talk and talk and talk, but that's it for now. Gopi, is that enough? Gopi, hello.
Thank you, Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
I would request Jai Baba. I would request Gulnar ji to say one short story about your daughter Homai dancing before Baba during Baba's Amrit and Tara's wedding. You can take 2 minutes, and then we can. After that story, we will give the translation of your talk.
Gullarji, you may have to unmute. You're on mute. You may have to unmute.
Gopi, I want to say about the dancing, and also the last meeting which Hirji had with Baba when he was not well. I've unmuted it. During Dara and Amrit's wedding time, there were these celebrations over there, and my father, Sarosh, came and asked me whether Homai, my daughter who was about 8 years old and who was learning Indian dancing, whether she would dance for Baba. So I said, of course, but the only problem is, Sarosh even asked me whether Omai, my daughter who was about 8 years old and who was learning Indian dancing, whether she would dance for Baba. So I said, of course, but the only problem is, Sarosh even asked me whether Omai, my daughter who was so then the only thing was in Mera Zad there was no electricity. So the music for her dance was on. I had taped it, and it was on we had to play it on a tape recorder. So my dad says, no problem, I'll get a gen set. But what happened is that gen set couldn't work the tape recorder. So as Homai started dancing, the music just died out, and I realized there was no. I would have to give her the beat, otherwise she wouldn't be able to dance. Now I used to be sitting over there when Homai was having her dance practice and all that. So I just took over from there. I don't know how it came, but I gave her all the tals throughout the dance so that she could continue with her dance, or the tam ti tam tam ti tam. You know, I don't know how I remembered it all, but Homai went through her dance without a flaw. So that was that one story. And Gopi, one more is that, you know, when Baba was not well at that time and his blood urea was very high, and I think it was on the 1st of January or so, we get a phone call in the morning at Viloo Villa from Adi Jr. to say Baba's not well and please ask Hidji to come. So we went to Merazad. Hidji went to Merazad, and Gavir was there, and they went into Baba saw all. Hidji saw Baba's reports and all, and found his blood urea extremely high. And he told Gavir, he shouldn't be here, you should really take him to Pune. So Gavir said he's not listening. So when Hidji went to examine him, he found that Baba was very clear in the head, very lucid. He had all his faculties about him, but with such a high blood urea, it shouldn't have been like that. He should have been almost in a coma. So then Hidji wanted a stethoscope. So Gavir said she would go and get one. So he says, no need, I'll just put my ear to his chest, and I'll just hear his heart. So that's what he did. He put his head on Baba's chest, and Baba put his hand on his head, and then Hidji realized it was distracting, you know, to have Baba's hand on his head and he's trying to hear the heartbeat. But he did that, and then afterwards, when he lifted up his head, Baba told him, you are very lucky. And also Baba had also told him, he had heard about where we were working in Trichur, and Baba told him, stay over there, don't leave that place. And so in spite of all the difficulties that we had experienced there, you know, with the administration and with everything else, Hidji just stuck on to that job, and at the end, he was able to achieve what he wanted from his life, from his profession, and that was to work with children with these cleft deformities. So I just wanted to put that in. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing the beautiful stories, Gulnar ji and Freny ji. It was a pleasure hearing all these wonderful stories of your parents and the Baba stories of the family. It was a real pleasure to have you today. Thank you so much for taking time. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Babaji. For the benefit of the audience who can only understand the local languages, the gist of what lovely stories that you shared. Once again, thank you very much for sharing these. Jai Ma Baba. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Gulnar మరియు Freny వారి యొక్క బాల్యం తర్వాత బాబా తోటి వారి యొక్క సహవాసం, ఇవన్నీ చిన్ననాటి స్మృతులన్నీ కూడా మనతో షేర్ చేసుకున్నామండి. బహుశా సమయం అన్ని కవర్ చేయడానికి మనకి సరిపోదు. సో క్లుప్తంగా ముఖ్యమైనటివి మనము ఒకసారి చర్చించుకుని తర్వాత కార్యక్రమం సెగ్మెంట్ లోకి ఫిల్మ్ షో ఉంది మనకి ఈ రోజు. అయితే సరోష్ ముఖ్యంగా బాబా యొక్క పరిధిలోకి వచ్చిన తర్వాత 1920వ సంవత్సరం అండి మొదటిసారిగా గుల్మాయి తన యొక్క మేనత్త గుల్మాయి ద్వారా బాబా దగ్గరికి మేనమామ భార్య తన ద్వారా గుల్నార్జీ ఇఫ్ యూ కెన్ మ్యూట్. యా, థ్యాంక్ యూ. సో వారి యొక్క బాబా యొక్క దర్శనం మొట్టమొదటిసారిగా రావడం జరిగింది. అయితే బాబా ఆ రోజు చెప్పారంట, ఎవరు ఆ రిక్షాలో ఉన్నారు అని. బాబా నా బ్రదర్ యొక్క నా మేనల్లుడు అని. అయితే గుల్మాయిని వాడిని తీసుకొని రమ్మని చెప్తే బాబా దర్శనం చేసుకోవడం జరిగింది సరోష్. ఆ తర్వాత ఆ సమయానికి నువ్వు ఏం అవుదాం అనుకున్నావు అని. ఆ సమయంలో సరోష్ కి 18 సంవత్సరాల వయసు. చూసిన వెంటనే బాబా ప్రతి ఆకర్షణ చెందారు. నేను నిన్ను అహ్మద్ నగర్ కి రాజుని చేస్తాను అని చెప్పారంట ఆ సరోష్ ని చూసిన తర్వాత బాబా. అయితే ఆ తర్వాత రోజుల్లో కాలక్రమంగా చూసినట్టయితే సరోష్ అహ్మద్ నగర్ లో ఒక ముఖ్యమైన స్థితిని చెందారు. ఖాన్ సాహెబ్ అని కూడా ఆయనకి ఆ టైటిల్ రావడం జరిగింది, మనకు తెలుసు. సో బాబా చెప్పిన ప్రకారంగానే జరిగింది. తర్వాత సరోష్ బాబా తోటి ఆ మండలి సభ్యుల్లో భాగంగా ఈ ట్రైనింగ్ యొక్క వివరణ ఇవన్నీ చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అయితే కొన్ని ముఖ్యమైన ఘటనలు చెప్పడం జరిగిందండి గుల్నార్ వారి చిన్నతనం నుంచి. అయితే గుల్నార్ వారి బాబా యొక్క దర్శన భాగ్యం కలిగింది. చిన్న బాలికగా ఏదైతే ఒక మెమరీ ఉందో దాన్ని చేయడం జరిగింది. ఇక్కడ పూనాలో ఒక బోర్డింగ్ స్కూల్లో చదువుతుంటూ ఉండేవారు. అయితే బాబా యొక్క పర్మిషన్ తోటి అహ్మద్ నగర్ నుంచి గురుప్రసాద్ వెళ్లే సమయంలో అదే కారులో గుల్నార్ కూడా తీసుకెళ్లి ఆ బోర్డింగ్ స్కూల్లో అప్పచెప్పడానికి నిశ్చయించడం జరిగింది. అయితే కారు ప్రయాణం అంటే గుల్నార్ కి పెద్ద పడేది కాదు, వికారం ఇవన్నీ అవుతూ ఉండేవి. అయితే ఆ కార్ ప్రయాణంలో బాబా కారులో ఉన్నారు, సరోజ్ డ్రైవింగ్ చేస్తున్నారు. అనుకున్నట్టుగానే మధ్యలో వికారం రావడం, ఆరోగ్యం పాడవడం ఇట్లాంటివి జరిగింది. ఆ కారు మధ్యలో ఆపడం జరిగింది. బాబాయే స్వయంగా కారు దిగి తన యొక్క శిరస్సుని తన చేతులతో పట్టుకుని తన్ని సపర్యలు చేసినట్టుగా గుల్నార్ చెప్తానండి. అదొక ముఖ్యమైన ఎప్పటికీ మర్చిపోలేనంటి ఆ స్మృతి అని గుల్నార్ మనతో చెప్తున్నారు. అలాగే చిన్న పిల్లలుగా మెహరా బర్త్డే సెలబ్రేషన్స్ కానీ చాలా సందర్భాల్లో మెహరాబాద్ వెళ్ళడం జరిగింది. అక్కడ మండలి వారితోటి ఇంటరాక్షన్ ఇవన్నీ కూడా వారు అన్ని చేయడం జరిగింది. అయితే ఇంకొక విషయం చెప్పారండి అక్కడ, సరోష్ వారి భార్య విలు వీరి తల్లి. అయితే చిన్న పిల్లలుగా గుల్నార్, ఫ్రీని మరియు దారా విలు దగ్గరే విలు సంరక్షణలో పెరిగిన వారు. అయితే ఆ వారి ఉండే నివాసం పేరు కూడా విలు విలా అని ఉండేది. అక్కడ కాలక్రమంగా బాబా ప్రేమికులు కూడా వచ్చేవారు, ముఖ్యంగా పాశ్చాత్యులు వారి దగ్గర విలు విల్లాలో ఉండేవారు. అయితే ఒక ముఖ్యమైన విషయం చెప్తున్నారు ఇక్కడ, సరోష్ ధనం ఖర్చు దగ్గర పెద్ద వెనకాడేవారు కాదు, ఇష్టం వచ్చినట్టు ఖర్చు పెడుతూ ఉండేవారు. అది వీలుకి చాలా ఇబ్బందికరంగా ఉండేది. అయితే ఒక సందర్భంలో బాబా దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళి ఇలాగా కంప్లైంట్ చేయడం జరిగింది, బాబా సరోష్ చూడు డబ్బులు ఏ రకంగా ఖర్చు పెడుతున్నారో, ఇలాగైతే మా పరిస్థితి ఏంటి అని బాబా తోటి చెప్పుకుంటే బాబా దానికి సమాధానంగా చెప్పారంట, డోంట్ వరీ, నువ్వేమి చింతించుకు, ధనం గురించి అయితే నువ్వు చింతించిన అవసరం లేదు, దాన్ని నేను నా భారం నా బాధ్యత అన్నట్టుగా బాబా ఆశ్వాసన ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది. కాలక్రమంగా సరోష్ శ్వాస విడిచిన తర్వాత ఎంతో మందికి ఆయన మంచితనం మీద ఇచ్చిన షూరిటీస్, ఏదైతే నమ్మకం మీద అప్పులు ఇవ్వడం జరుగుతుందో అవన్నీ భారం కూడా వారిని ఎత్తిమీద పడడం జరిగింది. ఈ భారం అంతా కూడా వీళ్ళు ఆ తర్వాత పరివారం మీద, కుటుంబం మీద పడిగింది. ఆ సమయంలో ఆది సలహా మేరకు పాశ్చాత్యులు భారతదేశంలో వచ్చినప్పుడు, ఇది ఎంపీసీకి ముందు రోజులు చెప్తున్నారండి, వాళ్ళకి వచ్చినప్పుడు వసతి సర్పాట్లు ఏమి లేవు, ఇక్కడ వసతి ఏర్పాట్లు ఏమి జరిగేవి కాదు. అయితే ఆ వీలు బిల్లాలోనే ఉండి వారు ఏదో కొంత ధనం అది ఇస్తూ ఉండేవారు. తద్వారా ఈ యొక్క ఏదైతే అప్పులు ఉన్నాయో ఇవన్నీ కూడా ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది. ఆ రకంగా కాలక్రమంగా ఈ అప్పులన్నీ తీరిపోయిన తర్వాత ముఖ్యమైన విషయం చెప్తున్నారండి. ఆ తర్వాత పాశ్చాత్య ప్రేమికులు అందరూ కూడా ఎంపీసీలో ఉండడం మొదలు పెట్టారు. ఆ యొక్క కార్యక్రమం, ఈ యొక్క ఏదైతే ఆది ఇచ్చిన సలహా ఉందో దాని ద్వారా ఈ సంఫలం జరిగింది అని చెప్పారు. అలాగే సరోజ్ కి కార్లు అంటే ఎంతో ఇష్టంగా ఉండేది. ఒక సందర్భంలో ఆ బాబా దగ్గర గ్వాలియర్ మహారాజ్ దగ్గర ఒక గ్రీన్ కొత్త కలర్ కారు, ఆ కారు కొనడం జరిగింది. ఆ కారు బాబా దగ్గర తీసుకెళ్లి, బాబా ఈ కారు కొనడం అని ఎంతో గర్వంగా చెప్పుకోవడం జరిగింది సరోజ్ బాబాకి. అది చూసి బాబా అన్నారంట చాలా బాగుంది అని. కొన్ని రోజుల తర్వాత అదే కారులో పూనా వెళ్లి ఒక పందుల మందరిని ఆ కారులో ఎక్కించుకొని తీసుకొని రమ్మని చెప్పారు. అయితే విలు మరియు సరోజ్ అలాగే బాబా చెప్పిన మాటని విని ఆ ఆజ్ఞని పాటించి ఆ పందుల్ని ఆ కారులను తీసుకొని రావడం జరిగింది. ఆ తర్వాత కారుని ఏ రకంగా పాడు చేసే మనందరం ఊహించగలం. అయితే ఇది ఎందుకు చేశారు బాబా ఇలాగంటే, ఆ యొక్క కారు, కొత్త కారు అనే గర్వం ఏదైతే ఆ సరోజ్ లో పెరిగిందో దాన్ని అంచనాకే ఇలా జరిగింది అని చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అయితే ఇంకొక ముఖ్యమైన విషయం చెప్పారండి ఇక్కడ. ఆది సీనియర్ వారి కుటుంబ సభ్యులే కదా, వారి ఇంటికి వచ్చి ఎప్పుడు బాబా యొక్క పరిణామ క్రమం నుంచి అలాగే ఆధ్యాత్మిక శ్రేణుల గురించి చెప్తూ ఉండేవారు. అయితే సరోజ్ వీరు పిల్లలుగా సరోజ్ ని ఇలాగ అడిగారంట, బాబా సరోజ్ మీరు ఎప్పుడు ఎందుకు ఇలాగ చదవలేదు, బాబా యొక్క ఆధ్యాత్మిక ఇవన్నీ కూడా బాబా ఇచ్చినవన్నీ అంటే, దానికి సరోజ్ సమాధానం ఈ రకంగా చెప్పారంట. బాబా యొక్క కార్య విధానం రెండు రకాలుగా ఉంటుంది. కొంతమంది తన యొక్క మేధస్సుతోటి అర్థం చేసుకుని ఆ యొక్క విషయాన్ని తనకి బాబా సహాయం ద్వారా హృదయాల్లో ఏర్పరచుకుంటారు. కానీ కొంతమందికి బాబా నేరుగా వారి హృదయాల్లోనే ప్రవేశిస్తారు. వారికి ఈ యొక్క ఆధ్యాత్మిక బోధనలు, ఇవి చదివే పుస్తకాలు చదివే అవసరం లేదు అని చెప్తున్నారండి. సో ఇవి ముఖ్యమైన ఘటనలండి మనకి చెప్పారు వీరు. ఇంకొక సందర్భంలో వీరు ఇద్దరు కూడా ప్రయాణం చేసేటప్పుడు ఒక కారులో సరోజ్ మరియు విలు ఔరంగాబాద్ నుంచి అహ్మద్ నగర్ వచ్చే సమయంలో భారీ వర్షాల వల్ల కారు నీళ్ళల్లో కొట్టుకుపోవడం జరిగింది. అదే సందర్భంలో వారు ఈ పరిస్థితి ఎంత విషమించిందంటే నీళ్లు మునిగిపోవడం దాకా వచ్చింది. కానీ బాబా నామస్మరణతో వారు పైకి రావడం జరిగింది. అయితే ఈ జరిగిన విషయాన్ని సరోజ్ తర్వాత బాబాతో వివరించినప్పుడు బాబా దానికి సమాధానంగా చెప్పారంట, నేను నీళ్ళని పైదాకా రాణిస్తాను కానీ నీ శిరస్సు నుంచి దాటి వినవను, అది నా యొక్క కార్య విధానం అని అష్యూరెన్స్ ఇస్తూ బాబా చెప్పినది ఆ విషయం అండి. అలాగే ఫ్రీని చెప్పిన కొన్ని విషయాలు ఆ తర్వాత ముఖ్యంగా గుల్నార్ చెప్పారండి. ఈ చివరిలో ఆ వీడియో ఫుటింగ్ కూడా చూపించారు. హోమాయ్ గుల్నార్ వారి కుమార్తె ఆమె బాబా ముందు ఈ దారా అమృత్ వాళ్ళ వివాహ సందర్భంలో ఆ డాన్స్ చేయడం బాబా ఎంతో ఆనందించడం మనం ఆ వీడియోలో చూసాము. అయితే ఆ సమయానికి ఏం జరిగిందంటే ఆ డాన్స్ కి తగిన మ్యూజిక్ అంతా కూడా ఒక టేప్ రికార్డర్ లో పెట్టడం జరిగింది. అది అక్కడ ఎలక్ట్రిసిటీ లేకపోవడం తోటి జనరేటర్ ద్వారా అది ప్లే చేద్దామని అనే ప్లాన్ లో ఉన్నారు. కానీ ఆ డాన్స్ సమయానికి ఆ జనరేటర్ సరిగ్గా పనిచేయలేదు. కానీ తెలియకుండానే గుల్నార్ ఏదో రకంగా ఆ తాళం వేయడం, ఆ తర్వాత ఆ చిన్నారి అక్కడ బాబా ముందు అద్భుతంగా డాన్స్ చేయడం అవన్నీ జరిగింది అని చెప్తున్నారండి. అలాగే చివరిగా ముఖ్యమైన ఒక ఘటన మనకి చెప్పారండి ఇక్కడ. డాక్టర్ హిర్జీ బాబా అనారోగ్యంతో 1968 సంవత్సరంలో విషయం చెప్తున్నారండి. బాబా యొక్క బ్లడ్ యూరియా లెవెల్ చాలా పై స్థాయికి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు ఆది జూనియర్ బాబా డాక్టర్ హిర్జీని పిలిపించడం జరిగింది మెహరాజాద్ కి. ఆయన పరీక్షను చేసి డాక్టర్ గోవర్ తో ఈ రకంగా చెప్పారంట, ఇక్కడ ఉండే పరిస్థితి కాదు, బాబాని హాస్పిటల్ తీసుకువెళ్ళాలి, పూనా తరలించాలి అనే విషయం చెప్పడంతో అది కుదరదు అని చాలా స్పష్టంగా డాక్టర్ గోహర్ చెప్పారు బాబా మాటగా. అయితే పరీక్ష చేయడానికి బాబా దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళి బాబా యొక్క ఛాతీ పైన, ఎందుకంటే అప్పుడు స్టెటోస్కోప్ లేదు ఆయన దగ్గర, బాబా ఛాతీ పైన చెవి పెట్టి వినడానికి ప్రయత్నించారు. అదే సమయంలో బాబా చెయ్యి వారి యొక్క శిరస్సు మీద పెట్టడం జరిగింది. అది అయిన తర్వాత బాబా ఈ రకంగా చెప్పారంట, నువ్వు చాలా అదృష్టవంతుడు అని. ఆ తర్వాత వారికి ఇచ్చిన నిర్దేశం ప్రకారం త్రిశూర్ అనే ప్రాంతంలోనే వీరు అక్కడ డాక్టర్ గా వ్యవహరించేవారండి. అక్కడే ఉండు అని బాబా ఖచ్చితంగా చెప్పడం, అదే విషయాన్ని తను పాటించడం, తద్వారా ఎంతో మందికి అక్కడ సహాయపడడం జరిగింది. ఇలాగా చాలా కథలు వారు చెప్పారండి. సమయాభావం వల్ల అన్ని మనం కవర్ చేయడం కుదరదు. మళ్ళీ అవకాశం ఉన్నప్పుడు ఇవి చెప్పుకుందాం. అవతార్ మెహర్ బాబా కి జై. ఓవర్ టు యూ బ్రదర్ సంతోష్.
Jai Baba. Now, beloved Baba's film show, and it is about Baba's universal message. Baba said, if people who have not seen me personally see me through the medium of film, it will help in the process of liberating them from the bondage of Maya. నన్ను వ్యక్తిగతంగా చూడని వ్యక్తులు ఈ చలనచిత్ర మాధ్యమం ద్వారా నన్ను చూస్తే అది మాయ యొక్క బంధనం నుండి వారిని విముక్తి చేసే ప్రక్రియలో సహాయపడుతుంది.
I have come not to teach but to awaken. Understand therefore that I lay down no precepts. Throughout eternity I have laid down principles and precepts, but mankind has ignored them. Man's inability to live God's words makes the Avatar's teaching a mockery. Instead of practicing the compassion he taught, man has waged crusades in his name. Instead of living the humility, purity, and truth of his words, man has given way to hatred, greed, and violence. Because man has been deaf to the principles and precepts laid down by God in the past, in this present Avataric form, I observe silence. You have asked for and been given enough words. It is now time to live them. To get nearer and nearer to God, you have to get further and further away from I, my, me and mine. You have not to renounce anything except your own self. It is as simple as that, though found to be almost impossible. It is possible for you to renounce your limited self by my grace. I have come to release that grace. I repeat, I lay down no precepts. When I release the tide of truth which I have come to give, men's daily lives will be the living precept. The words I have not spoken will come to life in them. I veil myself from man by his own curtain of ignorance and manifest my glory to a few. My present Avataric form is the last incarnation of this cycle of time. Hence my manifestation will be the greatest. When I break my silence, the impact of my love will be universal, and all life and creation will know, feel, and receive of it. It will help every individual to break himself free from his own bondage in his own way. I am the Divine Beloved who loves you more than you could ever love yourself. The breaking of my silence will help you to help yourself in knowing your real self. All this world confusion and chaos was inevitable, and no one is to blame. What had to happen has happened, and what has to happen will happen. There was and is no way out except through my coming in your midst. I had to come, and I have come. I am the Ancient One.
Now, beloved Baba's Naam Dhun. After that, silence, prayers and Arti follows. Let us observe silence for a few moments. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Now prayers and Arti.
Almighty God, the preserver and protector of all, you are without beginning and without end, non-dual, beyond comparison, and none can measure you. You are without color, without expression, without form, and without attributes. You are unlimited and unfathomable, beyond imagination and conception, eternal and imperishable. You are indivisible, and none can see you but with eyes divine. You always were, you always are, and you always will be. You are everywhere, you are in everything, and you are also beyond everywhere and beyond everything. You are in the firmament and in the depths. You are manifest and unmanifest, on all planes and beyond all planes. You are in the three worlds and also beyond the three worlds. You are imperceptible and independent. You are the Creator, the Lord of Lords, the knower of all minds and hearts. You are omnipotent and omnipresent. You are knowledge infinite, power infinite, and bliss infinite. You are the ocean of knowledge, all-knowing, infinitely knowing, the knower of the past, the present, and the future, and you are knowledge itself. You are all-merciful and eternally benevolent. You are the soul of souls, the one with infinite attributes. You are the Trinity of truth, knowledge, and bliss. You are the source of truth, the ocean of love. You are the Ancient One, the highest of the high. You are Prabhu and Parameshwar. You are the Beyond God and the Beyond God also. You are Parabrahma, Allah, Ilahi, Yastan, Ahura Mazda, and God the Beloved. You are named Isa, the only one worthy of worship. We repent, O God, most merciful, for all our sins, for every thought that was false or unjust or unclean, for every word spoken that ought not to have been spoken, for every deed done that ought not to have been done. We repent for every deed and word and thought inspired by selfishness, and for every deed and word and thought inspired by hatred. We repent most specially for every lustful thought and every lustful action, for every lie, for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. Most specially also we repent for every action that has brought ruin to others, for every word and deed that has given others pain, and for every wish that pain should befall others. In your unbounded mercy, we ask you to forgive us, O God, for all these sins committed by us, and to forgive us for our constant failures to think and speak and act according to your will. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more, and more and more, and still yet more, till we become worthy of union with you, and help us all to hold fast to Baba's daman till the very end. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.